Hey, Ken Silvestri here, Broadway Limited Imports. Today's video is featuring the BLI Brass Hybrid. Now, tooling for steam locomotives run about $250,000. That's a lot of money. Now, to do some quick math, if we build 2,500 locomotives and the tooling is at $250,000, that's $100 per locomotive in the retail price. Some locomotives lend itself to that, like Mikados, Pacifics, diesels, some Penske locomotives where they ran thousands of them. But some locomotives don't. Some locomotives are cool and historically important. Some prototypes just don't lend themselves to the high cost of tooling. So Broadway offers the Brass Hybrid line, which features brass boilers and tenders that run on die-cast chassis. This makes the model financially feasible to produce. The prime example of that is the Pennsylvania S2 turbine, a very cool locomotive that was way ahead of its time. But it only had one road number and maybe two different versions of it. Okay, now here's Bob and Matt, who are going to show you what a BLI Brass Hybrid is.
A brass locomotive in HO scale today sells for about $2,000. Now, they're nice looking, they're beautifully detailed, but one of the problems with them, if you've ever owned one, you'll know this, the brass models often don't run all that well. They short a lot. Just picking the model up, you can press the brake rigging into the wheels and cause a short, and so they're a constant maintenance item. So what Broadway Limited has done for the hybrid series is we make a number of the critical components out of different materials. For example, the chassis is die-cast, the wheels are die-cast, and what that lets us do is have a much more precision operating machinery. It's very similar to what we use in our die-cast or plastic steam locomotives. Some of the additional parts that we change, for example, are the brake rigging. Now, this is made of a very flexible plastic. A couple reasons for that. One is that it's not going to break or bend, and also if it does bend into the wheels or touch the wheels temporarily, it's not going to cause a short. So they run beautifully, but they also look better than I think just about anything on the market. We make the boiler and the tender shell out of handmade brass, and what that means is we make a form and we hand hammer the brass components onto that form, and even the individual rivets are done by using a little punch, and each one is punched in place. So they're handmade, beautiful hand soldered pieces, and then we paint them up just like we do for our standard model, and we equip them with a real coal load, with our Paragon 2 sound and motor control system, smoke. They come with window glazing, figures, fully complete. They're ready to run right out of the box, and they run beautifully.
Broadway's new model of the Union Pacific 412-2 represents classes UP4 and UP5 as they would have appeared late in their service lives, from about 1950 until retirement in 1954. Therefore, our models display multiple modifications from the as-built versions. Some examples of these modifications are 2 different blowdown systems, disc main driver, enlarged smokestack, external sand valves and lines, cab signal box, crew grip box on the tender, tender mounted stoker motor, and extended coal boards on the tender. We are also offering our models with 2 different cabs, the standard cab with bay window, and also the modified cab designed to accommodate the new Franklin E2 buffer. This new buffer allowed for quick and easy connection and disconnection between the locomotive and the tender. Since the 412-2s were an aging group, only 11 were updated with the new buffer, including number 9035 and number 9083. The new E2 buffer was 12 inches longer than the original, so the drawbar had to be lengthened and the tender subsequently moved back 12 inches. Due to agreements on spacing between cab and tender, this meant the cab also had to be moved back. After the cab was moved, the cab rear was narrowed in order to stay within the railroad's clearance zone on curves. At the same time, the cab front wall was widened to allow a better view forward. This permitted the railroad to install prime, clear vision windows with integral defrosters on the cab front. The sides were rebuilt to accommodate these changes, and you can see that the modified cab gradually slopes inward from front to back. With the improved visibility, the bay windows were no longer necessary and were subsequently removed. As far as we know, this is the first time anyone has produced a model of this modified cab in any scale. We've received a lot of help over the past few years from several sources. I'd like to thank the Union Pacific Historical Society and three gentlemen in particular, Steve Orth, Bill Metzger, and Sandy McCullough. We could not have made this beautiful model without all of their contributions.
In my 25 years of building trains, the BLI brass hybrids are my favorite line extension of all time. The inherent beauty in these locomotives is just fantastic. And I know you model railroad guys know exactly what I mean. These are the locomotives that you're going to have in service when family and friends come over and you want to show off your layout. This is brass that runs great, looks great, sounds great, and even smokes. Well, thanks again, and until next time, happy railroading.